Good morning. Welcome to episode 45 of the Driller Newscast, brought to you by Derrick's Inc. Based in High River, Alberta, Derrick's manufactures exceptional dual rotary drilling rigs for the whole world. H-O-L-E, whole. Using our many years of drilling experience, we have engineered the perfect drilling rig for your water well, geothermal, and reverse circulation exploration projects. Our customer service and technical assistance are second to none, as we take great pride in our customers' satisfaction. Your success is our success. This week, we will continue our conversation with Jesse Richardson, where we'll talk about the Western U.S. fight for water in the Colorado River and the Native American tribes, and the importance of how drillers represent the groundwater industry. Our featured professional will be Derrick from Derrick's this week, as he talks about what it's like to transition from a drilling business to creating drill rigs for drillers. But before we jump into our discussion this week, let's talk some safety. For this week's safety topic, I want to talk about the hazards associated with extreme weather conditions and climate change. COP27 painted the picture to the world that idea of holding us within 1.5 degrees Celsius increase isn't going to happen. And we're quickly racing by 2.25 degrees Celsius increase in temperature. And that is giving us massive weather events affecting the entire planet. But today I want to talk about how it affects our job sites, from the huge floods we saw this year in Kentucky and Mississippi, to the massive weather events, rainfall that we're seeing in the Western United States right now in the past 2 weeks, the tornadoes that happened in Alabama and throughout the Southeast, from Louisville to Georgia. Our safety policy has to have an extreme weather plan, and our people must need the ability to seek shelter. And we've talked about this from our lightning policy, if it's 8 to 10 miles out, or temperature policy. At what temperature do we start to slow down tasks and get people drinking water every 15 minutes? We got to talk more about this, because we just saw with the tornadoes that ripped through Alabama and the Southeast, to the floodwaters in the Western U.S., from the massive rain events to heat-related illness and cold stress. We're not addressing these well enough. And sure, when we hear thunder and lightning, our spidey sense picks up, and we understand right then that we need to seek shelter, and we have to provide good shelter. Well, let's talk about the rest of it. Are you using one of the heat index apps, the OSHA heat stress app, so you know where our temperature is? It's only going to get warmer. Sure, it's January right now. It's hard to think this way, but we need to make sure that our people are staying hydrated. We need to think about the results from these extreme weather events beyond lightning and electrocution, but slips, trips, and falls, and how our equipment sinks into the mud, and what is it going to take? How are we moving our equipment through these job sites that once, when it was dry, a rubber tired vehicle could pass through there, but now we're involved in pulling a piece of equipment in on site? Or how is that going to affect our job site from being leveled out for our suspended loads and our entire job operation? So we need to think about the risks at hand, how the weather events are going to change those, and that we have modern technology now that will tell us which crossroads that tornado is coming through. We just saw this in Alabama, folks that went, it's a pop-up storm. And then it came through and it just devastated everything. Mother Nature, with this increase in temperature, is fierce, and we have to understand what's happening. Buffalo just before Christmas and Christmas Eve, people freezing to death in vehicles because they were told to shelter in place while rescue crews could get out. We live in one of the most advanced civilizations in the world. People shouldn't be getting surprised by extreme weather events or freezing to death. And so we have to be prepared. And that means having the right cold stress and heat stress gear available, understanding if we're going to pause a job site because we can see that storm cell coming through, and understanding that extreme weather events are up 400% across our country and across the world, and that it's time that every tailgate meeting starts with, what is the weather going to do today and how is it going to affect us and our equipment? It's what I want you to think about. Be safe, be smart.
Hi, this is Brock Yordy. We are live at Groundwater Week 2022. This is Thursday, wrap-up day, and I am really excited because I got to come over to the Derek's booth, and I caught this man when he wasn't busy, which was really hard to do. Derek, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Derek McGladder. I've been drilling since 1986. A year ago, we gave up our drilling company and full-time building drills now. So I get to bring all my ideas from my head onto paper and then eventually into real life.
Some of the greatest R&D I've ever experienced has been in the back of a shop.
Oh, yeah.
We as an industry and engineers, if we all worked for Ford, we drive something similar to work every day.
Yep.
But one of our leaps and hurdles is that it's not the same application for engineers. So to be a driller, drilling, and then to get to here, how did that happen?
It's a lot of hours of standing at the back of the rig, trying to think outside of the box to do things safer, to do things with less money, and do things faster because basically time is money. So I always wanted to be able to set up faster, to drill faster, and keep it safe. Because I work with family, obviously you see my boys around here. My dad taught me it's all about safety.
I couldn't say it better. You're absolutely right. It's all about safety. Dual rotary rig. We see some. We got a lot of mud rotary. We got a lot of air. We got a lot of different rigs here. Break it down. We need some education on dual rotary, man.
Basically, how I look at it is every rig is really, really good. I can take any rig out there and we can have a wonderful day of drilling rock. What it comes down to is getting the casing down to the rock is, for us, the hard part. Once we hit the rock, I could take, we had a little heli-portable drill. One of my first drills that I built was a little heli-portable drill of 48 horsepower, and we were 900 feet with it. I didn't need it. So we don't need the huge, massive rig. We need something that makes us money, something that has good profit at the end of the day. And the faster we can get into the easy drilling or into the bedrock, I find that is what sets us apart from anyone else. You know, the dual rotary, being able to take the casing down to the rock so we can get that easy drilling and easy money, the better profits is in the rock. You know, no one wants to drill overburden because that's not where the money is. But with the dual rotary, you're able to easily get through it. And one of the guys we sold the rig to, he says it puts the fun back in drilling again. You know, instead of fighting and bashing your head against the wall, you're able to just quickly and smoothly and safely take the casing down to the rock or into a good water-bearing formation and see it. You can see things that are very shallow. Something that with a mud rotor you would be going, well, it drinks water, but it's only this deep. I'll drill past it. Whereas we can see it right now live, just as quickly as you were talking, and you can see it if you go past it and then pull back up into it and go, oh, there's the water. So that's why I love the dual rotary. It also makes it's easy.
It's easy?
Oh yeah.
All right, so we got this rig here. So give us a breakdown of the model. What are we looking at?
This one here is a 1340, 40,000 pounds pull, 13 feet of stroke. Well, this one's a 14-foot deck, so we can get a 600, 250 air compressor on board, which is, it runs at 80 to 70 to 80 psi on idle, so you're not burning a lot of fuel.
Big deal. Big deal.
You guys have cheap fuel down here compared to Canada, whereas it's $8 a gallon up there. So, being a Scottish driller, I try and do things as cheaply as possible, and we want to be able to get to the rock, the moneymaker, as quickly and as cheaply and as safely as possible. And we used to run casing hammer, but by rotating, we can go through rocks and boulders and solid rock. Just easy. I can set it up to drill solid rock. I can walk over. We can be having this conversation, and it can be drilling, and I don't have to worry about it.
Very cool.
It just goes smooth. It's not something you have to babysit. You just set it and forget it. I can go sit in the truck. We call it truck drilling. You go sit in the truck and eat while it's drilling.
We don't have time to eat on a job site.
Oh yeah, when you set it up properly, you do.
What's the future?
Oh man, I've got so many ideas, and as soon as I get money to do things, I'm going to do them and just watch the cool stuff we come up with.
I'm very excited.
We're going to come up with stuff. I just got to get it out of my head. I've got all these. I lay in. I mean, my wife, she knows. There's nothing that I love talking about more than drilling. How to drill faster, how to make more money while drilling, and still keep it safe.
Awesome. Thank you for your time today. It's been a pleasure to see this rig
and
hear. I can see the twinkle in his eye and how excited. And as a kid that grew up in the drilling industry, to where I've gotten to work for rig manufacturers, and I drew rigs in crayon, as I watched my father drill.
I made them out of Lego.
He made them out of Legos, so.
And now I got to make them out of steel.
It's very cool. Very cool. Thank you.
All right, take care.
For this week in the news, I want to talk about a little bit of what Jesse will jump into the second half of our discussion. And part of that, we discussed the Ogallala. And that's because at the beginning of this year, the Kansas Water Authority is telling lawmakers that Kansas needs to break sharply with its decades-long policy of the slow depletion of the Ogallala. The Ogallala Aquifer is massive. It's 175,000 square miles. It covers Texas, New Mexico, Oklahoma, Kansas, Colorado, Nebraska, Wyoming, and South Dakota. All states that are having discussions about what share of water they get from where, from Nebraska fighting over the South Platte River Compact to the Colorado River Compact to Texas and New Mexico into Mexico, who used to get excess water from the Colorado Compact. Now it gets down as far as it can, but the farther we go down states, the less water there is, especially with California and Arizona being some of the biggest consumptors. We talked about this in one of our first newscasts. Kansas, 60% of all of its agriculture production happens in the western United States in the Ogallala. Kansas makes up 18% of all of our cattle production for the U.S. Some of the best times I've ever had in my drilling career have been working in the Mid-Con through states and on wells that go into the Ogallala. And it's very important. And now we have to understand, how do we slow the depletion? How do we replenish that watershed? And the discussions about, do we move water from one watershed to another? There's already towns in Kansas, wells are running out. This isn't an infinite supply, and we've talked about this before. That jumps right into first week of January, and this is after many months of discussions. The Biden administration gave approval to Native American tribes that have some of the largest water rights to the Colorado River. They've been approved to lease some of that water to Arizona. We can see right now that there's cities in Arizona that are no longer allowed to pull water from where they were or truck water in. This is a big deal. And to give leasing authority of the Colorado River water from the Native American tribes who are and should be senior leaseholders, for them to be able to decide where their water goes. It's lots of infrastructure money out there, and we can see the Navajo Nation talking about where do we get our water from, and the water stressed areas of New Mexico. There's going to be a lot that comes from this, and we need to understand what is happening. You know, the tribes has a right to divert more than 662,000 acre feet of Colorado River water. And they haven't started taking advantage of that. And we've talked about this. An acre foot is just under 326,000 gallons. And I make a statement with Jesse about, an acre foot feeds about 3 households a year. One household using 109,000 gallons of water. You go to Africa, you go to some of the other water stressed places in the world, there's not a household using 109,000 gallons of water a year. We need to think about that. We need to think about our reuse policy. We need to think about what's happening. And that's the discussion we're going to get into with Jesse today. And that although the EPA and our scientists and our hydrogeologists, our science community is screaming that we have to stop what we're doing and we have to determine how to replenish these aquifers and reuse water. Jesse has one big insight, and that's that if Congress decides to make a law, it can happen that way, or incentivize our states to maintain good water quality and production. EPA versus West Virginia, the Supreme Court said the EPA was overreaching. However, if Congress had made it a law, it wouldn't have been overreaching. It would have been an enacted law. I'm very excited to present this second half, Jesse Richardson. Thank you, Jesse. Any other exciting environmental or water things we should be looking out for right now?
Well, things are really heating up, literally and figuratively. And the Colorado River is reaching a breaking point, and there are going to be further cuts across the board on the Colorado River. And I see Arizona and California is particularly being in the bullseye there. And so I think something's going to have to happen in the Colorado River basin. I think that Indian tribes might play a key role there. They have some significant water rights. There's been a lot of collaboration between Indian tribes and the local and state governments. I think, and I hope that continues. But I also think that the cost of water is going to increase. California, like we've already talked about, a lot of developments there. And I think all of these developments point to the end of what we've had a long period of time where water has essentially been free or very low cost. I think that's over. I think we're going to have to start paying for water, and we're going to have to start thinking about those people who can't afford to pay for water. How are we going to make sure that everybody has access to clean drinking water, but we can pay for the costs that are going to keep increasing of conserving water and ensuring that our water is clean? And I think if you want to look at that from a positive point of view, at least from our industry, I see domestic water wells as playing a key role in all of this. Piping water tens or hundreds of miles is very expensive, and we lose a lot of water through leaky pipes. So I think we can cut the cost and the waste by focusing in some areas on domestic water wells. We're not going to have domestic water wells in downtown DC or anything like that. But there are a lot of areas where private water wells can be the answer or part of the answer. And so I think wherever, as usual, wherever we have some barriers or obstacles, they are also opportunities. So I think we have a lot of opportunities in the water well industry, but it's going to be a struggle.
It comes right back to a point you made on our last discussion, that we need to be eyes and ears open and listening to what's going on. And we can see it in Arizona right now, where Scottsdale is no longer going to truck water to a local town. You look at the Native Americans, the Navajo Nation should be the most senior rights water holders, right? But the state of California are senior water rights holders. And you kind of shake your head and you go, wait, if you're the first people in our continent, and you're absolutely right. We are seeing Congress pump more money into the Navajo Nation and several other Native American tribes for water facilities, for clean water wells. New Mexico, all of the poor water wells that weren't ever designed to be potable. There's water is life. And it's an exciting time to be watching this, but it's an absolute scary time to be watching this.
Yeah, it really is. And I know a lot of times water well contractors remind me of farmers. They're out there, they like to be putting water systems in. But they're going to have to be more proactive in the marketing area. I've been reading a lot of articles recently. When people know their water well contractor and know about their well, they feel like their water is safe and they drink more of it. If they don't know their water well contractor or the circumstances around their well, there's some trepidation about whether that water is safe, and they might drink some more bottled water. So there's a lot of opportunity out there, and it's going to require that we reinvent the industry in some ways. But I'm confident that we can do that.
That's a great point to end on. Thank you. We are a professional groundwater industry, and we do not have to look like the roughneck, or that there's nothing wrong with the oil field roughnecks, but we are pulling the most precious resource we have in the world. And you look at Somalia, you look at everything going on right now with droughts and whatnot, and professionalism and professional presence needs to be a top thing that we're all constantly thinking about, because we are surgically making safe potable drinking water come out of the ground, and we have to have the population comfortable. Thank you. That is a beautiful point to make.
Absolutely. You said it very well. We are delivering life. Water is life. This industry is a group of professionals, and we just need to do a better job of making sure that people are aware of that.
And that's through education. It's through our presence. It's through our ability to advocate for our industry and understanding cattle and crops need to feed our country, and we need that water. But we also, an average American home uses about 300 gallons a day. And to put that into perspective, 14 million acre feet of water in the Colorado river. Maybe we thought it was 17, it's about 14. But 1 acre foot is 3 households. So in a year, that's a household burning through about 100,000 gallons of water, 109,000. So potable, safe drinking water and the way we treat it is very much our champion.
And you mentioned the fly-ins earlier in our talk, so please join Water Systems Council and/or the National Groundwater Association in our fly-ins in Washington, D.C. in March. Please get active in your state association and go to your state capital. Please get involved with your local government and make sure that the water well industry has a seat at the table.
Thank you for joining us for episode 45, brought to you by Derek's Manufacturing. It was such a great conversation having with Derek's, including when he said, I used to build rigs out of Legos. He's a driller. He's drilled around the world. His passion shows it. You know, when I asked him, how did you get here? He said, I'm a driller first and a designer second. I couldn't build and design without putting the time in on the platform. Check out the Derek's rigs. Thank you to Jesse Richardson for another great, insightful discussion. And I want you to think about what's happening right now with water rights, how we represent ourselves in the industry, and where we go from here. 2023 is going to be a heck of a ride, and we got a lot going on, and we need to understand how we represent the industry, but also who else is representing the industry, and get involved with the fly-in, with the National Groundwater Association, and with the Water Systems Council. It's very important for our voices to be heard, for our faces to be seen, and to show how important private water wells are, our groundwater industry, the drilling industry in general. I'm your host, Brock Yordy. Have a safe and productive week, and we'll catch you again next week. Thank you.